Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that takes the lead in today's edition for Thursday, 23rd January 2025, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. Trinidad and Tobago's opposition leader gets a tongue lashing from colleague parliamentarians on her impolitic statement of outgoing U.S. President. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family, yes we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. The opposition leader of Trinidad and Tobago, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, is facing a wave of criticism over her controversial remarks about former U.S. President Joe Biden, whose administration she described as a disaster. But even amid criticism from government officials and a member of her own party, Persad-Bissessar remains resolute, telling her critics she will not change her position. CNC3's Darius Polo has more.
Foreign Affairs Minister Dr. Amory Brown has ripped into opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar, calling her recent comments a disaster, the same term she used to describe the Joe Biden-led administration in the United States on Monday. It was a stark contrast to her Facebook post exactly 4 years ago when she congratulated Biden on becoming president and expressed optimism for a good working relationship. But her public rebuke of an outgoing U.S. president earned her harsh critique, with government ministers and one PNM senator united in their condemnation.
It's very disappointing, even by her already low standards. Some of the language and phrasing being used is at best undiplomatic and at worst completely ill-advised and actually dangerous to the interests of CARICOM, of Trinidad and Tobago.
I'm tempted to say that the opposition leader is a disaster, but I wouldn't say that.
It really, in my opinion, is undignified and completely lacking of political wisdom.
The comments were unfortunate and an embarrassment to the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
I think it was extremely impolitic. I think it has the potential to damage our diplomacy and diplomatic relations with the United States of America.
Even within her political party, UNC MP and so-called dissident Dr. Rai Ragbir chastised Persad-Bissessar, urging her to exercise, quote, greater sober thought in her public statements. The Komodo Manzanella MP also expressed disappointment in her comments, which he believes can undermine TNT's long-standing relationship with the U.S. He was also concerned that the opposition leader failed to consult with her party before publicly declaring the UNC's policy. But despite this criticism, she's doubling down on her comments, now calling Biden's government, quote, an absolute disaster due to 20 points, some of which have been debunked as misinformation. One of her deputy political leaders, Geraldine John, rose to her defense, saying,
She expressed an opinion, and I think it's the right so to do.
In a sea of no comments from several independent senators,
Following a work agenda.
Wonderful afternoon.
Suniti Maharaj was the only person to weigh in.
All political parties in Trinidad need to really consider what international relations mean in the interests of Trinidad and Tobago.
Meanwhile, international relations expert Dr. Anthony Gonzalez says he was astonished by the opposition leader's comments. He says it did not bode well for TNT's interests and warns that she should be mindful that Biden can return to office. Darius Polo, CNC3 News.
Still from Trinidad, Attorney General Reginald Amor presented the final report of an investigative team tasked with examining the case of Chevron Peters versus the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago. Details in this TTT News item.
The team was appointed to probe the disappearance of a file related to the malicious prosecution case filed by 9 men who were awarded $20 million after they were freed of the murder of businesswoman Vindra Naipal Kuhlman. In early 2023, AG Armour said because of the missing file, the state failed to file a defense in the matter. In February 2023, the Attorney General appointed retired Justice of Appeal Stanley John and former Special Branch Head Pamela Shalera Hines to investigate. Their thorough report, submitted in June 2023, provided recommendations to improve the delivery of legal services. AG Armour shared why he chose to wait until the passage of the miscellaneous provisions Judicial and Legal Service Act 2024, Act number 14 of 2024, before the report is made public.
I chose deliberately not to make this report public. There are disclosures in there which impact individuals. Flowing from this, there emerged legal correspondence with the investigative team, which team had caused a Salmon letter correspondence to be issued. It was my grave concern that, had this report been made public before now, my office may have become embroiled in litigation with the potential negatively to impact what I considered to be the preeminent public interest consideration.
The Attorney General emphasized that the implementation of reforms has begun, led by retired Court Executive Administrator Master Christiane Morris Allen.
With the Registrar General and the Registrar General's Department in respect of the addition of the Children's Attorneys to the Civil Law Department, and with the Controller of the Intellectual Property Office, greatly assisted by the change managers and interlocutors who were made available to us by the Judicial Education Institute of the Judiciary, the necessary change process, training, and commitment to mission and purpose.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick, in association with our friends at
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The implementation of an advanced electronic travel authorization system for St. Kitts and Nevis by mid-2025 took a step closer with a 17th January meeting of national stakeholders and a team from Travaiserie Border Security. Glenn Bart of SKN Newsline reports.
Among several advantages of such a system is the ability for immigration and law enforcement agencies with advanced tools to screen for security risk, prevent high-risk travelers from entering, and combat issues such as human smuggling, drug trafficking, and financial crimes. Dr. Terence Drew, Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, stated, quote, St. Kitts and Nevis is proud to lead the region in adopting this innovative system. The ETA not only strengthens our security, but also simplifies processes for travelers and citizens, reducing wait times, enhancing efficiency, and elevating our tourism experience. This initiative reflects our commitment to digital transformation as a cornerstone of becoming a sustainable island state, end quote. The system also will enable St. Kitts and Nevis to comply with standards of the International Civil Aviation Authority and of the United Nations. The Travaiserie Border Security team was led by Chief Executive Officer Renaud Imager. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley says she will not get into the affairs of George Street, but instead focus on her task at hand as Prime Minister of Barbados. She was speaking following the Democratic Labour Party's announcement of 15 candidates ahead of the next general election, constitutionally due in 2027.
Suffice it to say that I would hope that they listen to the people, and I'm hearing that many of the people who have been picked have already had a response from the people of Barbados already. That is a matter for them, not George Street is on their own on this, not me. You understand? And as I've said, my business is to stay focused on making sure that we can make Barbados better in each category. There are things that I am not happy about that we're working on, and I have said to the government, we will continue to focus on excelling in the delivery of the basics.
Prime Minister Motley adds there are still a number of things on the government's agenda to complete.
We managed to do the big things. We've managed to stabilize the country. We're trying to put the country on a path of growth, and you've seen consecutive quarters of growth that will make us happy. But there are a number of pockets of things that we will stay focused on, because the mission is not over until it's over. And the government is not going to be distracted by those who don't have the power to call an election but want to believe that an election is around the corner.
Political analyst Peter Wickham has been commenting on the announcement of Democratic Labour Party candidates for the next general elections. He says it's a positive development for the party. Mr. Wickham adds, however, that there are some concerns.
The good is that some of the candidates are new and some of the candidates are old, so there's a good mix of new and old candidates. And I know that Dr. David Eswick, who is one of the top performers, is identified as a candidate for St. Philip West. That's also a good thing for the Democratic Labour Party. The leader of the Democratic Labour Party has indicated that he believes that a by-election will be called shortly in St. James North. One would have thought that that should have been one of the first places that he would identify a candidate. That was not on the list. He has also not indicated where he himself is running, and I think that certain curious minds would want to know where he is running in the course of things, and he's also left that question out.
The Bahamian Prime Minister Philip Davis comments on the International Monetary Fund report. ZNS News has this report.
The local economy's post-pandemic recovery deemed remarkable, and this fueled by a strong rebound in the lucrative tourism market. But what the International Monetary Fund has also concluded in its Article 4 consultation with the Bahamas is that growth is slowing in the face of the cost of living remaining high. According to the IMF, that growth is expected to return to the country's historical average of around 1.5% as capacity constraints in the tourism sector become even more binding. Furthermore, there are risks of sovereign stress should the government continue to reject IMF suggestions for the economy, such as imposing a personal income tax on the top 10% of earners. While responding to the IMF, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Philip Davis, said this to reporters this morning on the sidelines of a special sitting of the Court of Appeal.
Of our own predictions, we don't see a slowing down in the economy right yet. There are some headwinds for us, but it's not in the economy. It is the obligations that have been incurred over the years that is holding us back. But we see the observations made by them, but we will ensure that we continue to ensure that our economy grows and not slows.
The IMF staff report follows discussions that ended November 19th, 2024, with local officials on economic developments and policy.
Jamaica's Justice Minister's comments from last week continue to spark discussion, with the People's National Party now joining the debate. CVM's Trisha Gay Kelly has the follow-up.
The conversation has intensified as the opposition is now calling for the minister to resign. And this follows his comments in a meeting last week, which since then have stirred the minds of many. But I don't want to give away too much, so here's what the minister said and how the PNP reacted. The conversation around Justice Minister Delroy Chuck's statements at the recent Integrity Commission Oversight Committee's meeting continues. The minister commented on the IC's requirements for close relatives of parliamentarians to submit their salaries to the commission. Minister Chuck gave his opinion on the matter. Here's what he said.
I don't know if this is something that is appropriate, Chairman, because I have advised the relevant member, let them know your spouse is not prepared to divulge their salary to her or him, and therefore he or she cannot so report it.
This advice did not sit well with many, including members of the opposition People's National Party, who addressed the comments on Sunday. Leader of the opposition, Mark Golding, has called for a change.
We need a justice minister who encourages compliance with the rule of law and doesn't tell parliamentarians to violate the Integrity Commission Act. if I was Minister of Justice and I was saying the things that the current Minister of Justice was saying, I'd have to take for myself.
Political commentators and authorities in the field previously requested that the Justice Minister retract his statements, some adding his utterances were not exemplary, especially in his capacity. But the PNP wants more. Golding is calling for Minister Chuck to step down.
He must go. How can he be giving incorrect, negligent advice to his own colleagues about what their obligations are under the law that is under his own portfolio? It is a disgrace what is happening in this country.
The governing Jamaica Labour Party, however, says the minister will not be stepping down. The party is accusing the opposition of using the situation as a distraction from an alleged hush money scandal. Minister Chuck also expressed that his phrasing of what was said in the meeting was misconstrued. Trisha Gay Kelly, CVM News.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's a service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.